Something about, I need maybe to talk a little bit more about reference points, about how to transfer parallel lines from one point to another. So let's do that. Let's do some basic reference points work here. Get this out of the way. And this first thing I'm going to do is called transfer line AB to points C and D. I think the way I've listed it on my instructions here is 3 different ways. So by that, I'm going to do kind of a 1 point, then kind of an angular 2-point version, and then I'm going to use some vertical. I think that's the way this is intended to work. So let's do that. Let's draw a horizon line, and I want to transfer scale from this, let's say, line AB to point C and to point D. Now, what I could do here is to make this look a little bit like it might sound more practical. I could make this into like a train car, let's say, and make this, say, a drawing where I've got this logo on a train car, and I'm showing my client this thing, and he says, yeah, okay, let's show train cars on parallel sidings, see what the logo looks like far away and what it looks like up close. Now, I know it's a corny story, but I'm trying to do something that sounds like something an illustrator might do. So let's go to point C and make a horizontal, and that is line number 1. Line number 2, a line from A through C up to the horizon, line number 2, and that gives me reference point 1, okay? Reference point 1. From reference point 1 now, I draw line 3 back to B here. Line 3, let's make it here. The 3 is here. And that gives me the other excuse me, the other train car about here. Okay? There's his logo. Now let's do here at D. Let's make sure D doesn't line up. Okay, I want to move D over just a little bit. I don't like the way it's aligning itself there. Now I'm going to make, let's see, that was lines 1, 2, and 3. This will be line 4. Line 4. Line 5 is D through A up to the horizon to get reference point 2. Line 5, RP2, line 5. Then from reference point 2 back through B will be line 6, coming back this way. I guess I should put arrows on these lines so we could see them, the directions that they're going. Then this gives me then the size of D here. Okay. So there I've moved the train car back to this position. So the guy sees it and likes it and says, the story I usually tell when I'm doing these exercises is that the client likes this, but it's kind of dead. Horizontals are boring. They're like sleepy time, you know. These things are in bed. They're dead. So he wants something active, and angles are more active. Compositionally, angles are more dynamic. So let's draw the things in perspective. Those same 3 train cars, let's draw them in perspective. Let's start with a horizon line. And the original train car, which is here, it will be line AB, and then C will be here, and then D will be down here, D, okay? Let's then give these things some, pretend they're sides. I'm just going to draw like they're sides of boxcars that Great Southwest Railroad has. So in doing this, the first line will be to find a vanishing point by extending line AB. This will be line 1, and by doing that, I'm finding the vanishing point. Now that I have a vanishing point, I'll draw from point C to the vanishing point, line 2. Line 2. Line 3 will be a line from A through C up to the horizon to get reference point 1. This is line 3. And line 4 is reference point 1 back to B. So arrows giving me direction. Line 4 comes back this way. Now I found the length of the train car at C, right here. All right. Now at D, let's see, I did line 1, I did line 2, 3, 4. So this will be line 5 from D to the vanishing point, line 5. Line 6 from D through A up to the horizon will give me reference point 2. Line 6, RP2. Line 7, reference point 2 back through B. Line 7. And that's it. That's the last line. But let's finish this up so it looks kind of like a train car with the logos on it. Let's see. Logos here and here. I'm not talking too much about the height here. I'm going to deal with heights a little bit later. But so there we have like 3 freight cars drawn. Now he likes this. See, he says, "Oh, this is great." He's going to pay us $10,000 for this illustration. So we're happy, and he's happy, and he's going to sell a million tons of freight on those freight cars. So Lew Wasserman at Universal Studios built that amphitheater up there. And I don't know if you've ever been up there in the early days of the amphitheater at Universal Studios. It was quite far away from the box office. Now, for the sake of this story, let's pretend that people were getting lost, finding their way to the box office, from the box office to the amphitheater. So let's say this. There is a sign, there's a given sign of a certain height right here that tells the direction to that amphitheater from the box office. Okay, let's say that there's a curved path that goes something like this from the box office to the amphitheater. And right in the middle of that path is that sign. So here's AB. Now he wants to put one here at C and one over here at D on this path, so we won't lose our way. I think maybe this initial one is a little tall. Let's make it a little shorter so I don't run into problems here. So here's the initial sign. I'm not concerned about the size of that little plaque on there, but let's start with point C here and make a vertical line at C. I don't want this to run out of the image area here. I hope it doesn't. What I'm going to do now, that was line 1. Oops, I'm putting the 1 down here where we can see it. Now from C through A, line 2 gives me a reference point. Line 2, reference point 1. Now reference point 1 through the top of the pole. Wow, let's make it just a little shorter so that it stays in our image here. Let's draw it this way. Here's the top of the sign. Drawing through the top of the pole here, line 3 gives me the height of the second signpost right here. Okay? Kind of a corny little sign, but that's all right. So we did a 1 at C, then we did a line from C through A up here to get a reference point. And then from the reference point, drew back through the top of the AB pole and carried that forward to here. So now what I need to do is also come over here to D and make a vertical line here. Let's see, what have I got? I did 1, 2, 3. This would be line 4, vertical. Line 5, A through D, up to the horizon to get reference point, to get reference point 2, RP2. Reference point 2 back to B here. That gives me the signpost right here. So now he's got, you could go see from one signpost to the other to the other. Let's pretend that the path looks kind of like this. Coming around here like this, okay? Not really well drawn, but it's good enough to illustrate the point here. So what we're doing is we're using reference points to transfer scale from one parallel line to another and from one parallel line to another. We're using reference points to transfer scale from one parallel line to another. All right, let's go to the next. The next one is repeat figures at C and D 2 ways. All right. This gives us just a little bit more progressively difficult kind of thing to do here. So let's make my pencil sharp. All right. Repeat figures at points C and D. Let's say that you have this situation. You have a horizon line, and let's just use the word lines for now. You have line AB here. Line AB is right here. AB. I think eventually that will be a symbol for a figure, which would look something like this. But there's line AB. Now, right here at D is another line. And I want to measure that the same height as AB. How can I do that? It's right above it. There's no way I can do that. Well, there is a way. And the way to do that is to come out to the side and pick an arbitrary point C, just an arbitrary point C like that. So let's do this. Let's count this as line 1. 1. I know I did a 1 above D, but let's not count that. Now from A through C up here, let's get a reference point. This is line 2. It gives me a reference point here, reference point 1. Then I can go from reference point 1 back to B. So I go here and back this way, line 3. And this gives me the height of the figure at C. Okay, now to find the same height at D, I can draw from C through D like this and get another, it should be an R, by the way, reference point 2. This is, yeah, how did I do this? I did 1, 2, 3. This is line number, let's make the vertical above D, line number 4. Number 5, C through D, up here is number 5. Now from reference point 2 back to the top of C, we'll cut this to this will be line 6. And this gives us the figure here at D. Okay? All right, there's another way. If I were to draw a crowd of people using this system, I would have so many reference points it would be ridiculous. But there's another way to do this. If you're drawing with a triangle and T-square, here's a way that you can do it. It looks like it's more difficult, but it actually isn't. Let's make here the original figure right here. And let's put a point C here and a point D here. This is the figure AB. What I'll do is draw lines from the top and bottom of the figure to an arbitrary reference point. Arbitrary RP, reference point. Okay, from B to that arbitrary reference point, line 1. Line 2, from the top of the given figure, line 2. Okay, here's how I would proceed. Line 3 would be a vertical above point C. Here's point D here. A vertical above C. Now a horizontal from C over to line 1, a vertical up to line 2, and a horizontal back to C. See how quickly that went? Now I've found a figure here at C. So let's number those lines. We have lines 1 and 2. Then we have a vertical above C is line 3. Line 4 is a horizontal going this way. Line 5 is a vertical up to the line above. Is my hand in the way? Line 5. Line 6 is coming back this way to get the top of that figure. Okay, now D, I have to move it up a little higher because it's not working here. Let's come up here to D. Line 7 is a vertical above D. 7. Line 8, a horizontal from D over to line 1. Line 7, or line 8, excuse me. Where that touches line 1, a vertical is line 9. So this way, up this way. Line 10 is the last line back this way. Gives us the height of the figure at D. Line 10. So you see there, just by using one vanishing point, I can draw figures all over the place. You know, and if I'm drawing a crowd of people, figures are at various heights. But let's use a 6-foot man as kind of the general guide. Then alongside, you know, you could put a shorter person, or you can have children. But you still have a way to relate heights of things if you're drawing a crowd of people. Okay?